You okay there? Everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Hideout. I'm Alan, your host for tonight, and I'm so excited to have you here, whether you're joining us live in the audience, tuning in online, or catching the replay. This is where entrepreneurs come to share their journeys, tackle challenges, and collaborate on the solutions. Tonight, we have an incredible guest and an even more incredible audience, you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Was it like Mr. Rogers or something? All right, so let's dive in. Please join me in welcoming our guest entrepreneur for tonight, once she stops laughing, Sarah Stewart. Sarah Stewart is from MSP Hire, a talent acquisition firm specializing in IT service providers. Those are people who people buy or pay to service their IT, so they're not an in-house firm. I'll let you explain more. Sarah, tell us a little bit about your business. Give us the elevator pitch.
All right. Well, I hope y'all aren't disappointed that it wasn't Mr. Rogers that came out here. But yes, my name is Sarah. I own MSP Hire with Alan, actually. And what we do is we recruit for managed service providers. So if you go to the dentist and you notice they have a lot of technology, this is a good example. They generally don't have an IT guy on their staff, so they would hire a company to take care of all of the technology for them. So yeah, they call us when they want to hire because a lot of people don't have time to do it properly. They've tried and failed, or they're just desperate. They're trying to keep their head above water, and they need some extra help.
Interesting. So is there a lot of those out there?
You would be surprised. Yes, there are thousands of MSPs in North America.
Wow.
And yeah.
So do any of you guys know an MSP? Somebody who works at one, say no, yes, yes. Okay, that's a pretty good pitch there. All right, icebreaker question. What's the craziest thing a client has ever told you?
That I wasn't doing a good job.
What?
I know, you said the craziest thing. I'd say that's the craziest thing.
So, like, how did you handle that?
Not well. It's hard to take. I'm a person who really likes to do a good job. I mean, we all like to do a good job, but like I really don't like not doing a good job. It's a thing. And so I had a client tell me that like not only was I not doing a good job, but like I had really no right being in the business, and it was terrible. I cried in the meeting. Yeah, it wasn't my finest moment, but I mean, that is who I am. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I genuinely want to do the best for everybody, and hearing that I didn't live up to this person's expectations was terrible.
So first, what was the outcome from the client perspective?
So that's absolutely where everything went off the track. It was early in my days at MSP Hire. So I was, I still had my training wheels on a little bit, especially with regard to setting expectations. I think that was a huge learning curve for me. That instance really kind of made us go back and workshop exactly what we're doing when we're talking to clients, making sure that they understand very clearly what it is that we do. Because this client had a totally different expectation of what we were going to provide, an expectation I didn't understand, and they didn't understand what our process was, obviously, clearly enough, which is why their feedback was so awful. But in the moment, I didn't have that, I didn't have the clarity. It took me stepping back and really examining the situation to figure out what went so horribly wrong.
Well, I think you did the right thing, though. Like, you dealt with your emotions, and then after a moment had passed, you had time to reflect on what can we do differently to improve this in the future.
Yes.
I got to tell you, when I lost my first client as an IT firm many, many moons ago, I also cried. Not in front of the client.
I did.
But as soon as I got home, I sure did. They don't like me anymore.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's hard not to take it personal because this is what we do. This is our identity is being an entrepreneur. So we have a big fancy word for it, which I've gotten really good at spelling after starting all these entrepreneur meetups on third Thursdays, entrepreneurs hideout. Gotten good at spelling it. All right, great introduction, Sarah. We're going to take a short break to hear from a sponsor, and when we return, we're going to dive into how we can help Sarah, and she might just help us in the meantime. Glad you guys all made it back to here. Let's jump into it, Sarah. So tell us a bit about your journey to being an entrepreneur. How did you get started in this?
My whole life have always thought entrepreneurs were so cool and like really idolized them and knew absolutely that I wasn't one. No entrepreneurial ship. That's a long word. Is that a word? I don't know.
It is now.
Okay. None of that at all in my body whatsoever. And then it was in conversation with you and getting curious about what you were up to that I just sort of landed in here. And even since then, I've taken my entrepreneurial journey. I've extended it even into another business. So what I've realized is I think anyone who can sell something or anyone who's been in sales and operations, this is getting convoluted.
Yeah.
But I think
as
that,
it is.
Yeah, right? I'll tell you that the thing that changed my mind about being an entrepreneur was reading the book that you and Liesl told me about called Rocket Fuel.
Oh.
I don't remember what the author is, but
Gino
Google it.
Gino Wickman, Rocket Fuel.
Okay, Rocket Fuel. So I always thought entrepreneurs were what Gino calls a visionary. I thought people who had the ideas were the entrepreneurs. And I'm not really the ideas person. I'm the person that if you know what you want it to look like, you come to me and I can implement it. I can make the plan and I can execute the plan and I can manage the people and the process. But I cannot, I don't work that way, you know? So I just didn't consider myself an entrepreneur. And then when I learned that in order to be effective, most companies need to have both a visionary and an implementer, I realized that I'm an implementer and that I'm a very key personality for a successul business.
Absolutely. In fact, I believe in that same book, he talks about the demographics of entrepreneurs, and 16% of them, and I'm misquoting this, but it's close, 16% of them are capable of being visionaries.
Right.
And only 8% are capable of being implementers or integrators. And so you were actually the more rare form.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a rarer form where 2% is capable of, which is being able to do both.
Right.
Like I've tried both, and I can do both, but not in the same year.
Right.
I got to shut down one half of the brain and switch over, and it's not pretty, which is why it's awesome having an integrator implementer on the team. I want to back up too about how we met.
Yeah.
Because one of the words you said when we were interviewing you to become president of MSP Hire, me, was I've always felt I could be an entrepreneur and like the idea, but I never had an idea to execute on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, here you go. Here's an idea.
Here's an idea, and I need someone to execute on it.
But it's a fun story, so worth telling. We have our favorite watering hole here, just down the street from Trickster's Hideout, Cliffside Cider. And on a Friday afternoon, I would knock off work early, go have some ciders. And when I was writing my book, and I'd met you a few times before, I don't even know if I knew your name at that point. And I was writing a book, and there at 3 p.m. on a Friday, and you're like, hey, what you doing? And I think the one time we really got into it with the book that I was writing, you asked great questions, by the way, which is my first sign. I was like, I'm editing these dang squinting modifiers. What is that? Well, I didn't know either until I Googled the heck out of it, and I had what's that software that does the grammar check for you? Grammarly? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yep.
Grammarly.
Yep.
And it's like I had like thousands of squinting modifiers. You should do this. You might be able to do this. Consider versus it's like this, which is not my style, but it made for a very succinct book. So that's how we met. And then when I had to divest the V-screening service from my consulting company, we called it MSP Hire, and I needed to find a president because I wasn't going to be able to do both.
Right.
I wanted to focus on the other business. And you passed the interview because you had all and I think this is going to be relevant for the rest of our conversation, you had all of the soft skills that we needed. You knew how to be an integrator, implementer, even if you didn't know the word yet. You knew how to execute. You were passionate. You were curious. Those are all great qualities to have. So let's transition into the hurdles part.
Okay.
So what we do on the show every time, both times now, is now that we've had that introduction, found your entrepreneurial journey, what challenges have you faced? We can talk about a few that you solved, and I would love to dive into a few maybe you haven't solved yet and see if we can help each other, I can help you, or if even our audience can help you. And if you are watching online, feel free to weigh in the comments. Hopefully our producer, Lonnie, will see those. It's always a technical challenge for all of us here. No, there's a screen for it over there. I'll show you during the break. And we can respond to those and get this read out loud here as well. But go ahead and type them in there. We will find them, I promise-ish. All right, so give us a challenge you've been working on or have worked on you want to talk about today.
Okay, so my challenge that I won't go into too much here, but I have the same challenge as a lot of entrepreneurs, which is getting my name out there. That's the biggest one, and we're working through that in all of our various entrepreneur groups. But I think an interesting challenge that we face is helping our clients know what they want.
So a client calls you, waves a bunch of money at you, and they just like you? Like, why are they doing that?
Well, naturally, but it's not that they have no idea what they want. They generally have a very good idea what they want. And as the process goes along, it turns out that what they thought they want isn't what they want, and it's something completely different. What we're trying to do is shorten that timeline. So, working with them up front to extract what it is exactly that they're looking for.
So, how do you, let's start with the why. Why do you think this happens so often that they are mistaken about their needs?
That's a great question. I think a lot, especially a lot of MSP owners, are trying to keep their head above water, and they know that having, let's say, another level 2 technician could be really helpful in taking off work from their plate so that they can go and focus on growing the business. And as time goes along, they realize that they're really looking more for a sales development representative.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it is a big change. It's a 180. So we've been, talking to this certain type of people, and we've been going down this track, and then all of that work gets scrapped because actually we want to be focusing on this other thing. So it can create frustration on both sides. And my greatest, there's two things I need to be aware of here. Is one is protecting my team's time, of course, but the other is avoiding the appearance that we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
And making it really clear during those conversations that, okay, so remember, we're completely changing everything that we've been talking about now. Now we're rewriting a job ad and we're redoing the entire process. So we have to pretend like it's day zero again.
With one great exception, which may be a good segue as well, learning the company's culture.
Right.
So I have my own beliefs about company culture. It's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
But tell me how you engage with your clients to attract the right people, because it's not just who knows how to do technical stuff, right?
No, for sure. And there's a lot of qualified people out there that don't fit into company culture that get passed over for positions all the time. People are much more willing to take on candidates that fit their company culture and don't necessarily have the skill set. And they're willing to sometimes put in the time and effort to get somebody where they need to be because they have these other qualities that they're really looking for. But that is a rarity. It's a rarity for a company to really know what their culture is.
So how do you size these people up? They call you on the phone. You really want to make the sale, but some are going to be more difficult than others. Are they going to change their mind after 6 weeks of hunting, or is their culture not well defined? How do you find out?
Well, now that I've been doing it for 2 years, it's a lot easier than it was. I can tell pretty quickly if people understand. I can tell pretty quickly the functionality of the team in an MSP in one conversation with a principal now, whereas before it would take me a lot longer. I can really tell if a principal is able to speak to the different roles that are being done in their company and who is doing those roles. If they're able to tell me the type of person that will not work, and I mean from a personality perspective. And that's another thing I should say is like a cultural fit for some means like literally culturally. Like if you were an Italian-based MSP and all of the people that work in your MSP are Italian, some people take it to that extreme. Other people take it, when we're talking about company culture, it's like work-life balance, talking about, if your child is sick and you need to go home and take care of your child, what does that look like within your company? So that's another thing when I'm talking to people about company culture is even defining those terms. So it can get kind of complicated.
Now, this is maybe going way too far in the weeds, but I'm going to say it live anyways.
Okay.
Like I've also consulted some clients who were hiring within their culture.
Yep.
And obviously you cannot hire based on culture alone. There are all sorts of protected classes, race, religion. So please be aware of that. But certainly when you're looking for your initial candidates, I've had a couple of clients say, hey, I'm in a certain religion, and I need my first couple of employees to understand me and what I'm about before I do that. And we take an approach, I'm not even going to claim this from the hiring perspective. I'm going to claim this from a consulting perspective. I get that, and that's okay. But be aware that as you expand, you're going to want diversity, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because getting diverse views creates the right kind of healthy conflict to make you better, to make you solve other types of problems, and is going to make you more of a mass appeal to a larger market. So I hope I threaded the needle on that one.
Yes.
It could be a hot topic. So how else are you solving the challenge of getting ahead of these people, defining their culture, and not changing their positions?
I think there's a healthy amount of pushback that happens.
Healthy conflict.
Yeah, healthy conflict between me and somebody I'm trying to sell my business to. So that's, it has to be done in a tactful way, but it's generally like received really well. And when I get people thinking during these conversations, I think it builds trust. And ultimately, for my team and my business to succeed, and probably most other businesses as well, trust is number one.
Absolutely. Now, Sarah is in a business-to-business market, meaning she sells to other business owners, and that can be very different than business to consumer. Like here at Trickster's Hideout, we sell to consumers. We generally have to make everybody happy. But what I find in business to business is they just want to make more money. And if your advice can make them do that, even if they were wrong, the smart business owner is going to love that. I've had one customer, we used to rate our meetings, and he'd be like, Alan, you didn't challenge me at all today. This is, an 8 out of 10. Like, you can do better. Argue with me more. And literally, the amount of arguments we had is how he would rate the meeting. And he has a great company. So it worked out for him. Do you have, pretend I'm your consultant and not your business partner for a second.
Okay.
Do you have a question you would love to ask? And like, if you had to ask a business consultant, what's the one thing you wish you would know? You can even pull up something from the past if you like, because you'll know my answer already.
So if I had time with a business consultant, which I do every day.
Sorry.
That's okay. What is something I would want to ask you? Maybe like, what's the measure of success?
Ooh, it's a good one. So, like in your and I's case, is that grammatically correct? We've talked about some very large but loose goals. For example, year one, it was like, let's be profitable. And now here we are in year two, let's pay back our startup loan. Year three, let's get salaries up to, full salaries. And so to me, that's the measure of success. And while there's room for not quite hitting the goal, if you see progress, there's a great motivational poster, never berate progress, no matter how slow. So for me, it's progress. It's the needle moving, or because we're building a base. Like you come to me like, hey, we had a great month, and we don't have a great month. And then the great months keep happening more and more often. And we're having more and more great months without increasing expenses, which is even better. So I think having those conversations at least, and I think there'll come a time as we get bigger that we do have to have more specific metrics like, hey, this many thousands of dollars a month in revenue, or this many new logos, new businesses on board. We'll be able to set those goals when we have that larger base. Great question. I also want to share our story. Now, you may have shared it before, but while you're on the stage.
Okay.
When we were trying to get the MSP hire name out there originally, I gave you some advice that I was given recently at the time. And she's like, how do I get the word out there? I was like, post on Reddit. Like, what do you mean? Like, people ask questions on Reddit, you answer them. She's like, why would I do that? It's a lot of time, a lot of effort just giving stuff away. And the answer was because it creates business. It just always has. People wind up in your DMs, in your inbox. When you search for something 3 years later, you find that response on Reddit that links them back to you. Did it work?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about that journey, because you weren't really that hesitant to it. It was just an
Well,
initial question mark.
I had never really been on Reddit before. I honestly thought it was just not safe for work content, to be honest. That's always like I don't know. That's just, I don't know. It had a weird connotation for me. So you're like, go on Reddit. I'm like, okay, that's weird. I will though. And I did. And honestly, like our success rate on Reddit has been better than any other platform we've ever engaged with. Apparently, MSP owners and people in the technology industry hang out on Reddit. They hang out on Facebook too, but the engagement is totally different. The engagement on Facebook seems to be between friends, and on Reddit, people are happy to talk to anybody because it is kind of a more anonymous platform.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been great. Either I'll post something. That's the thing I'm like not as good at, is like posting my own thing and then creating an engaging conversation. But often I comment on what other people are doing, or offer my advice, or offer my time, and just say, hey, like I'm happy to talk to you about this. And they'll take me up on it, or somebody else will see that I've done that and they'll DM me and say, hey, I see that you hire for MSPs. Either here's my resume, or I'm looking for a blah, blah, blah in Louisville, Kentucky. And then, and then we set up a meeting, and it's been awesome, honestly. And I've learned a ton. I think actually more than drumming up business, which of course is a win, I've learned so much about the industry that I really had no idea about by being on Reddit.
So I think the moral there is go to where your customers are.
Yes.
And that posting helpful advice on Reddit is very much aligned with a concept of EDRM, educational direct response marketing, which means you educate your market. You give them free advice, free content. They think of you as an expert, and they reach out. That's the direct response part. And it's marketing, because they were volunteering to be sold to at that point. Just give the advice, give the content, and Reddit's just one form of that. Facebook forums are another. And by the way, we're not talking advertising, right?
No.
And we're barely even talking posting.
Hey, I'm Sarah. I own a recruiting company for MSPs. That's how they know what I do for a living. That's my like tiny little plug. And then I'll say, what I've seen is blah, 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 in response to whatever question they've asked.
Yeah, the advice I've gotten for posting on Reddit is always be helpful, never sell, but qualify who you are, and they appreciate that much more. And by qualifying who you are, that's also the marketing piece. They want to know, like, why is this person giving me advice?
Right.
Oh, you're a recruiter, so they have some opinions. Maybe they want to sell me something, but I'm getting advice, so that's great.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not always sunshine and rainbows. Oh,
What?
you're a recruiter. Oh,
Do you have one bad reply you can give it to us?
oh my God, so many.
I want one. Let's get juicy here. Popcorn.
Somebody asked me on my MSP Hire has a subreddit. There's a plug. r/MSP Hire. Someone trolled me on my own subreddit saying that I'm constantly spamming Reddit with jobs that don't pay a livable wage. And I was just like, feel free to not apply to anything that doesn't fit what you need.
Now, I've actually heard you talk about the livable wage thing and other flames from Reddit on salaries posted.
Oh, yeah.
Are those responses valid sometimes? Usually not?
If they're valid, I already know they're valid before I post it. 1. 2, no one's ever posting, oh my gosh, what a generous salary.
Yeah.
Ever. Usually when I'm getting shredded over a salary, I'm still getting DMs for people that are interested because, some people need an entry-level job.
Right.
And there is a type of recruiter that takes a percentage of the salary as their payment, I think. Or there's a conception that is happening because recruiters generally, there's not a very favorable, they're not viewed very favorably, as if we're out there
Why
like.
is that?
I don't know if it's direct, like some people it's direct experience, and with AI I think it's getting even worse because we're really dehumanizing candidates, and candidates are really tired, and they're being asked to complete all these tasks. Like some of these job postings, you have to do like a 36-hour work for free project.
Wow.
In order to be applying for these positions. And so like I get it. There definitely is, but with any industry there are negative, like people that are sort of spoiling the lot.
Yeah.
But because I know we operate with total integrity, when people are shredding me for being like shredding my character, not that they have any idea who I am, it's easy for me to sort of brush it off. But there was a period of time where it was happening a lot, and I posted in Reddit and I said, hey, do I give this any weight? Like where I think I just needed like some validation. I was questioning myself at this point. And everyone was like, you really need to understand that. They kind of said to me what I just said about people are always going to focus on the negative thing, and that you really need to take it with a grain of salt. And if you've done your research and you know what you're doing, then you just have to kind of ignore the people that are going to be shitty.
Very good. And I love the fact that you checked yourself, right? You hear the feedback, you evaluate it, and you dismiss it because you've evaluated it.
Right, exactly. And
All right.
I'm the expert.
Yeah, that's right. You're the expert. No imposter syndrome here.
That's right.
I'm going to give you a tough challenge
Ooh.
To end this segment on.
Okay.
I want you to tell MSPs what you wish they would know before they called you.
Okay.
And you may look into the camera to do so. You can hate me.
Okay.
You can hate me later.
MSPs. I wish you knew that having pizza on Friday isn't company culture. I wish you knew that people need time off paid. And most of you do. Most of you do. And I wish you knew more about your own company culture and who it is that would really rock your world if they came in the door and sat down at that desk. I really wish you had a great idea of what your star person would look like, because then we can look for them.
Amazing. Thank you. So take note, because that applied to way more than just her target demographic. All of us should heed that advice. Thank you, Sarah. So we're going to take a short break to hear from a sponsor, and when we return, we're going to let the audience ask questions and also provide advice to Sarah. It's her turn in the hot seat, as it has been. Ooh. All right, be right back. Running a business can feel isolating, but it doesn't have to be. Meet Alan Edwards at EPI Consulting, a trusted partner who's been where you are and knows what it takes to succeed. With years of experience starting, scaling, buying, and selling businesses, Alan brings proven strategies and genuine care to every client. Whether you're looking to grow, solve tough challenges, or reclaim balance in your life, Alan and EPI Consulting are here to guide you. Together, we'll build a business and the life you've always envisioned. EPI Consulting. Let's make it epic together. Welcome back. Today's producer, Lonnie, will be helping us with this next section. Everyone say hello to Lonnie. Can you show us
Hi,
who you are on live?
Lonnie.
Yeah? There she is. Hello. Hi there. All right, now that you've met Lonnie, it's your turn, audience. Let's collaborate and listen. What questions, ideas, or insights do you have for Sarah? Our live audience, you can walk up to this microphone over here, right beside Lonnie, and ask your question there. And if you're online, put them in the comments, and Lonnie will read them aloud here for us. Did you ever find the comment section?
Yeah, there's nothing in there.
Okay, that's one way to look. There are 3 YouTube feeds, though. All good, all good. If we missed your comments, we will reply back after the show directly to your comment. All right. Who has a question? Lonnie, do you have a question? No, Liesel does first. All right, Liesel.
Hi, I'm Liesel.
Hi, Liesel.
I would like to know as for a business owner, what is the biggest no-no that they do when they're trying to hire that you see commonly happening?
Okay. The biggest no-no.
Take it away. I'm going to fix the comments while you do this.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. The biggest no-no, and I don't want to kick the dead horse, but not knowing what your company culture is the biggest no-no. And that's just because you can hire somebody with skills, but if they don't jive with the team or they don't understand what your core values or what your purpose is, then it's not really going to matter if they're really good at being a technician, because they're going to be failing the customers, potentially ruining the workplace environment. And it comes with a lot of opportunity cost if you don't have a team that's jiving with each other. Part of our process, we use a cognitive and a personality test. Personality test is pass or fail, but it really allows us to talk specifically to points within a company's culture. For example, if this is a customer-facing role and you're shy, that's what the personality test has shown us. Well, how are you going to confidently go into a customer's office and service them? So I think getting down to company culture and exactly what it is that the day-to-day is going to look for this person is the best thing any company can do, not just an MSP, in order to set themselves up for success.
Excellent.
Thank you for that question.
Thanks, Liesel. Liesel was the guest on our last month's show. If you have a chance to check that out, the Entrepreneur's Hideout for January 2025. What month is it? February?
It's February. It's
Wow.
almost March. Ooh.
Oh,
Okay, so I have a question. You mentioned how pizza isn't culture.
Yes.
And I totally appreciate that. A lot of business owners are successful because they're good at what they do, not necessarily because they're good leaders. How can someone who's a person who's thought, sorry, do I come closer or, okay. How does a person who really doesn't necessarily understand people and culture, but is building something because they've been successful at what they do, how do they start building a culture? That's a question
That is such a good question. That is such a good question. And it's funny that you're asking that, because that is what MSPs are. Generally, they're a guy who's really good at building computers when he's a teenager, and then he starts building computers and fixing computers for his friends and family, and then he decides to go into business and do that for a living. So, like, really, most of my clients didn't go to leadership school. They're really good technical people. So what they have to do, and that's why I run into this all the time. They haven't been shown. There's not been any mentorship around culture, team building, leadership, this type of thing. I love this. So how does one learn how to do that? I mean, LinkedIn is rife with people who are being sort of gurus on leadership. There's a lot of podcasts and things that people can listen to about tips and tricks. I think if a company has the capacity, hiring somebody who is really good at that would be amazing. But a lot of MSPs and a lot of companies in general are solopreneurs. They're looking to hire their first person, or they have a really small team and margins are small and they don't have it in them. So I think talking to your team, just having meetings and communicating clearly with each other about what you love doing, what you don't love doing, what's going well, working well, what's not working well. Having these clear lines of communication will evolve into a very strong company culture. A company having meetings where you are empowered to be transparent is company culture. And I think it's a really healthy place to start what could be, it can evolve into a more exciting company culture. But if it just stays there, if it just stays with, I'm not afraid to speak up, I'm not afraid to share my ideas, green flag.
Green flags. Ooh, I have a lot to add.
Yeah, do it.
I'm motivated.
Yes.
So I remember saying this in another show once. Pizza on Fridays is not culture, but why you do pizzas on a Friday can be culture. Not saying it is, can be.
Can be.
Another great book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. He talks a lot about the technician syndrome. Most of us get into our business because we were good at what we did, and we thought we could do it better than our boss. So we did our own thing. And most of us had a little bit of, social skills, which is why we thought we could do a business. But you're right. We do what we're good at, and we lose the rest. And a few things have to happen to make that transition to scale beyond yourself. One is you can appreciate the benefits of what needs to be done, even though you're not good at it. And then if you do that authentically, which is I think where you really where you're heading, like to say, hey guys, I'm not good at this, but this is what I would like to do, goes a long way. Actually having the team know what you're about and what you're thinking and know your flaws. That authentic self will lead people every time. Even an authentic asshole can be a great leader, as long as they're authentic about it.
Absolutely. If you're if you're walking around thinking you're a nice guy.
Yeah, that goes against everything I'm for. But then, oh, he knows he's an asshole, and
Yeah.
I can work around that.
Totally.
A couple of names right now.
I
come
know,
to
me
mind.
too.
You might be in this chair. I don't know. What was the other piece? You mentioned learning. Learning is great. If you're the type of person who has the aptitude and attitude to go learn, that really can work. None of us got to where we are today without learning along the way. My joke as a consultant when I'm trying to sell somebody consulting is, yeah, I've made all the mistakes ahead of time for you, so I now can tell you what to do right. We are far from imperfect, but also not everybody is great at changing. We all are afraid of change. We have this imposter syndrome, I mentioned that word earlier, where we fear we're not the experts we're supposed to be because there's so many more people that are better than me. And that's probably true. Doesn't make you not an expert. But you have those, speaking of authenticity, who think they are the expert and they're unable to grow and change. As a matter of fact, you're talking about culture fits. I think you mentioned the aptitude test, and aptitude is almost the most important characteristic I've seen.
Oh yeah.
I've had people tell me, oh yeah, I'm a fast learner. This aptitude test, it's not even that it's like a 20-minute test. It's not that long of a test. And every time we have this threshold we found, every time we squeak somebody by below the threshold and we let them go further on, it has never worked out. It's like magic. And especially in a field like you're serving, the IT field, you have to be a smart cookie to be able to learn. There's all sorts of other roles that you could probably learn without a high aptitude. Her industry is not one of them.
That's right.
Hey, I work in one of those industries too. Jason, do you have a question?
I do.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Jason's been singing to us all day. We love this.
I don't know how good it was, but Sarah,
Yeah.
I also wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yes.
I leave it out there just to get destroyed. I trust people
Yes.
too much.
Yes.
Get taken advantage of. I am currently starting my own business as well, or the idea
Congrats.
that's been
Awesome.
in my head for years and years.
Brilliant.
I'm going out on a limb, and I'm trying.
Yeah.
The hardest thing that I have is giving the price to a customer.
Of course.
I just always want to undercut
Yes.
myself, right? Just to
Yes.
make them happy, to get the job, to
Yeah.
land their respect, basically.
100%. Do you know why that is? It's because you're human. We are
Congrats.
not taught how to talk about money in this. Most of us, I almost would feel pretty comfortable saying all of us, people are weird about money, which when you break it down and you think about it, makes no sense. You are selling a service that is going to benefit the person you're selling it to, and that's it. There's nothing moral about it. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person. But I just need you to know that you're in no way unique about feeling weird about talking about money.
I'm looking at one of you in the audience.
Yeah.
She has the exact same problem all the time.
Yeah.
I like them. I want them to like me.
Totally. Yeah. And I think there's also this idea that like when you're charging a certain amount, what if their expectation of my work is not on par with what I'm able to deliver? I think before you can create trust, because I think this is what it comes down to, right? It has to be creating trust within yourself and understanding that what you're selling this person, I don't know you well other than from today. And Jason, I already know that you're going to follow through on the thing that you say that you're going to do. You're following through on the commitment that you're making to your customer, and your time is worth that. The reason is because you need to pay your bills, you need to eat, and you need to have fun, just like everyone else.
And we also historically forget how much things cost us to do. Like,
Yeah.
but I know Liesel's business. She's my wife. She's a muralist, so a trade, and she's like, "Oh, it's gonna take me like 4 hours, and I'm gonna do this." Okay, 4 hours. Does that count driving there? Oh
Right.
no. Well, how long did it take you to go to the paint store for them before that? Oh, and you have to load your ladder up. You have to unload your ladder. You have to mix the paints when you get there. How long did you spend making the sale? How long did you spend making the 8 sales before that didn't go through?
Right.
How many years did you spend in training to get here? Schooling, education, practice. And of course, you're going to learn this. One thing that does help is experience.
Yeah.
When you start pricing things and you start getting yeses all the time, you're like, okay, I can raise my prices some more. You keep getting yeses. That'll also help build your confidence. But yeah, do the math, and you're worth it.
Yeah. And I also work in the food industry too.
How many jobs do you have?
I have a lot of jobs, but one thing that might help you with the psychological aspect of it is to go with a high-low model. So have a price that like your advertised price, and know that if you gave a 10% or a 20% discount in your back pocket, know exactly where that lands you. So if there's somebody you really want to make a special effort for, you can do that, but that's your choice, and you know what doing that, where that's going to land you. So then you can feel confident to do it, and you can do it without hesitating or feeling nervous about not losing money on the job, for example. But if you have that pre-planned, then you can walk into any conversation. For me, I like to treat my returning clients. I generally give them a discount on the sale for returning, or if they're purchasing more than one position with me, I generally offer a discount in those situations.
And you have a high ticket item.
Yeah. But there's one part of my fee that I never touch. So for me, psychologically, I know that so I charge 2 fees. One is a screening fee, which is upfront, and one is a placement fee. Once they've hired the perfect person, I never touch the placement fee. It's $4,000, whatever day it is. I don't care who you are. It's $4,000. This fee, I'll play around with that. No problem. So thinking about creative ways that you can almost trick yourself into being generous, but in a way that is in a controlled environment, might be helpful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, great question. And
Yeah.
when you are being generous, I like to make it obvious, because there's a difference. Let's say I have a pen in my pocket, and I throw it at you, and I go, "Hey, that's for you." Oh, thanks.
Sweet.
Yeah. But what if I got up off the stage, shook your hand, said thank you, and handed you a pen?
Right.
Same for the gift giving. Like if you decide to give a discount, like, "Hey, I really appreciate the last 3 positions you've placed with us. I'd like to do you the honor of this discount." And then I also always put the discount on the invoice as well.
Right.
This is full price, and I have chosen to give you a discount, and so there's no confusion that the discount is my actual price. At least show that. In fact, I do the same thing when I raise prices. I do a lot of monthly recurring services. And what I'll do is I'll raise prices for everybody and discount them back down to the price they're already paying. New clients pay the full price, and if I sell enough of those, it must be the right price, and then I talk to my clients about raising prices. I've been giving you a discount for the last 12 months. Let's talk about the price increase. You're worth it.
Smart.
Any more questions directly for Sarah or about Sarah before we move into the segment where we talk to you guys? Lonnie.
Yes, I have a question online for Sarah from Bruce. And he says, there's a book out there called Know Your Why. I think it's Simon Sinek.
Find your why. Yeah.
Find Your Why, or I Know Your Why. If I can ask, what is your own organization's why for doing what you do and how you do it?
Thanks for the question, Bruce.
Yes. Unky.
Bruce.
Our why, I'm going to get all emotional. Our why is to be helpful. Our why is to allow people to go and do what they love to do and what they feel confident doing, and let us take the thing that feels burdensome and uncomfortable and return something that will elevate everybody involved. Elevate me, elevate the business owners and their team, and elevate the candidate who potentially has been looking for a job for months and months and months, have been put through the ringer, and has now landed somewhere where they feel like they have a future.
And I notice how many people are involved in your why. It's your client, it's everybody who works for the client, it's the candidate. And I know you take great care even with the candidates you don't hire.
Yes.
Because they've, like you said, they've been through the ringer.
They've been through the ringer.
And then you feel good when you can make all those things happen. And you call me with a little happy dance in your
I do.
voice.
It's honestly the greatest thing ever to be able to pair people. I really, really love it.
Employment matchmaking. The Tinder for IT service providers. Any more questions for Sarah before we go to break and then the next segment? All right, so let's do this, our little outro here. Okay, that was awesome. It obviously takes a village. We were all helping each other. I was learning equally at the same time. When we return from our next sponsor break, we're going to turn the tables and let our audience, both here and online, they can either ask questions for their own benefit or ask questions of somebody else they've heard from. It's going to be a free-for-all. WWE. Am I censored now?
Too bad Cohen wasn't here.
Oh, yeah. We have a wrestler in the group. And you can also share stories and see if we can help or at least commiserate with each other. We'll give you a hug if that helps, and sometimes it does. So prepare your questions. Go ahead and pop them in online if you have those coming up. Do that during the break, and we'll be right back. This adds like a minute. We'll be right back, I promise. Recruiting for managed service providers isn't like hiring for just any business, and that's why MSP Hire exists. We specialize in finding top-tier talent for MSPs through a thorough, multi-step screening process designed to save you time and frustration. Unlike other hiring services, we don't flood your inbox with endless resumes. Every candidate we present has been carefully vetted through multiple stages of evaluation. By the time they reach you, they're ready for your final interview, not a first glance. From IT technicians to account managers, we understand the roles that make MSPs tick, and we know how to find the right people to fill them. Stop wasting time on unqualified applicants and let MSP Hire deliver candidates who are ready to make an impact on your business. MSP Hire, helping MSPs find great people. And we're back. I've always wanted to say that. Did that last time too. All right, now it's time to tackle your questions, challenges, and ideas. Whether you're here in the room with us or online, let us know what's on your mind. Oh, it rhymes. I love that. Let's put our heads together. See what happens. All right, what questions do we have? Now, Lonnie said we had another comment from online.
I just had a response from Bruce. He says, I love this, so inclusive and kind and brimming with passion.
Aw. Aw.
Very beautiful.
While we wait for questions to come in, guys, gals, is there anybody in the audience now or in the future you'd like to say hi to? Besides
my
Bruce
gosh.
now.
Yeah, my uncle is my favorite human. And I think a lot of my family is watching, which feels really
Hi,
nice.
Mom.
Hi. It feels really good. I'm always supported to the nth degree by my family, so I'm a very, very lucky person.
Now tell me about your team at MSP Hire.
Oh, Marjorie, she just got engaged. Oh, so proud of her. She's like, I couldn't do this without her. She goes with my wacky ideas and she talks me back down to earth, and she's just so great at connecting with our clients and the candidates. I'm very blessed to have her on my team.
Outstanding. We have a question from the audience. Peter.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a broad and general question, but
Okay.
that's good because you can kind of choose how to answer it. There's a temptation when you're starting out a business to say yes to every opportunity that comes along,
Yes.
which on one hand can be good because you are looking to take advantage of potential opportunities and you don't want to get too stuck in your own idea. And on the other hand, it can be bad because it can lead you to doing 1,000 things, none of them well.
Yes.
And I was wondering, I guess, partly kind of based on your experience in life, what side of this coin you tend to experience early entrepreneurs erring on more
Yes.
often, and if you have kind of general advice around that as to how to navigate that trade-off.
You bet. Yeah, that's a great question. I think when I started with MSP Hire, I was like, what do you mean we're servicing only MSPs? Like, that seems ridiculous. It's such a niche. The IT industry, in my like naive opinion, was a niche. But then you're niching in the niche. I just didn't get it at all. And I was like, Alan, this is bananas. This is never going to work. We need to expand our scope. And you were like,
Yes.
no, we don't. We don't need to expand our scope. Let's try this for a while and see how it goes. Right? And now I can tell you, it's certainly, there's enough work to go around. But
The riches are in the niches, which doesn't work if you call it niche. So, however, I do believe that we all mature in our businesses over time, depending on where you start from. And I think in the early days, if you have bills to pay, if you have kids to feed, if you have yourself to feed, a few extra yeses to pay the bills might be okay. Is it the right solution for ultimate scale? No. But you can cross that bridge when you get there. For example, when's the best time to say no? When you're too busy. You're doing something right. Now it's time to get strategic on which types of no's do you give and which types of yeses do you give. What am I best at? What do I make the most money at? What do I give the most value at? I start saying no to the rest. And that list should continue to narrow down. And ultimately, you become the best at one thing. In fact, you're so good, you can charge any price, and it's like an ATM printing money. And once that occurs, you can consider a second yes that's related. And you can build back from there. But don't confuse that later down, after you perfect it. Don't confuse that for, oh, yeah, that's where I'm at in the beginning. And I say yes to everything. Very different. I think most of my businesses, I probably started off quite broad and then, narrow down, sell. It's one way to get out. Thank you, Peter. Eric, ask us a question.
I'm not IT, so I don't know the questions to ask.
Forget IT. This is open forum right now. Tell us a story
how about your business?
or your friend's business.
Well, my business is just me, so that's the easy side.
My business is just me too. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. The one thing that I did appreciate, and which I asked the question, is I used to have a business where we had a lot of employees, and it was really hard to know what would work for everybody because
Yeah.
culture is so complex.
Yes.
And we had a large transient workforce. It was road construction is what we did. But the challenge was, like, every year for 4 months, you had 50 people that you had to try to find some way to bring together. And it was always very difficult to do. And so that's kind of why I asked that question. I'm
Yeah.
always curious what people do to kind of solve that challenge. But I also find that leveraging them, is a lot of it, especially when you're the genius that's kind of created a business because you're good at what you do, not necessarily because you're good at, then you start trying to throw people in to multiply yourself and it doesn't quite work.
Yes.
I find leveraging other people, the people you bring in, and finding out what it is that they like, and sometimes that's the culture that builds. You mentioned bringing someone in. A lot of times, the people you have can do that if they kind of think that way.
Yeah, and if they're empowered to do it too, right? Like, are you asking these people these questions, or are you just assuming you have to take it on yourself?
Well,
That's a perfect point.
That's one of the toughest things, especially someone who's just so used to doing everything themselves, is it's easy to just think that everyone else is going to think the same way you think.
Totally.
So
And that's my challenge, is being like, oh, wait, no, the rest of the world is not as odd as I am. So obviously they're going to have different answers.
oh yeah. So bad culture is rarely intentional, and good culture is always intentional.
It's rarely unintentional.
So you also mentioned something that no one's as good as I am. You didn't say it that way. I will. And it's true, right?
Yeah.
We're the entrepreneurs. I don't know what this word means in French, but I think it means hate paychecks and odd. We gave up our jobs at some point to do this and do it on our own. And we even pay other people to do our jobs for us. What a weird bunch we are. But I think the answer to your question is culture. There is a way to create a magnetic culture. Culture that attracts those 50 people you need every year, because they've been waiting to work for this company. They've been waiting for that opening. They've been waiting for the spring to open up so they can do this again with you guys. And that's not an easy thing to do. Like silly things. Like, if I say core values, half you're going to roll your eyes. Ugh, core values. And, for a company less than 5 people, core values are kind of meh. At least written core values are kind of meh. But the fact is, with that small of a company, you are exhibiting your core values directly to everybody around you. So in a way, it's happening. But as your company begins to expand, more and more, it's the other person who's exhibiting core values, and there's some leaky bucket there, right? Things aren't getting all the way down, and that's where putting things in writing become important. I've seen people poorly implement core values throughout everything. Like they have them written, they have them sky written, they have them tattooed on all the employees. Core values, core values. But it's just poor delivery. Like when I've been fortunate to work for a lot of great companies with great core values. And they are talked about every day, and not as a rote, let's read the core values today, but like, wow, Peter, that was a great example of this core value over here. Thank you for that. And that happens once or twice a day, and people see that, and it's just magnetic. It just keeps going. It's the kinetic machine finally works. Unlimited energy.
Yeah, it comes back to the authenticity you mentioned. If it's not authentic, then it does ring hollow.
Yeah. But my favorite non-authentic moment for core values, great company, by the way, that I used to work for, but they kept wanting to do the core value of fun. They felt that was necessary to attract people. Well, rarely ever, if you use the word necessary, it's not a core value. A core value is what you do. It's your behavior. It's not your desire. And finally, the owners, there's 2 of them, confessed to me, we do love fun, but we really just want to come to work and not hate it and go home and have fun with our families.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, say that. And they removed fun from the core values. They didn't have a no fun core value, right? But fun wasn't something core to their beliefs at work. We had more fun after we struck that from the record.
Right.
Because it felt authentic. Just like you could work for an asshole who knows he's an asshole. Maybe not if he flaunts that he's an asshole.
No.
But if he knows it.
I've worked for a lot of assholes, and they were fun. Because they were authentic.
Well, like my current boss is an asshole.
Yeah. I think I know who that is.
It's just for the record, it's me. No need to spread gossip. All right. Any more questions, comments, stories you'd like to share? Anything online? It can be about anything. How you doing, Ryan? Our karaoke host, this guy, he's always a blast. If you happen to be watching this in Squamish, come out to karaoke. It's about to start rocking in here. And we have at least 2 good singers in the room right now. Peter, we'll give you a 3rd good singer in the room. All right, Peter, you singing for us?
Not well, though.
What's your question?
You know how to phrase it. So there's a lot of conventional wisdom that's thrown around. Things like, you shouldn't try to do everything yourself. Delegating is the key thing that you have to do. It's common for founders to make this mistake and so on. And I'm kind of wondering, like, do you have? No, this is a tough question because it's kind of putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
great.
But
Let's do it.
but that's what makes it fun. Do you have kind of cases that contravene the wisdom? Basically, do you have cases where, like maybe a founder did way too much himself and refused to delegate, and that turned out to be a good decision, or a case where, to go back to what we were talking about previously, what was the last question about again?
So is there a case where a solo guy did better than scaling?
Yeah, or just generally like cases that contravene that go against the wisdom.
Okay, first off, absolutely. Even though usually the answer is it depends. So to me, there's two different types of businesses. There's a business that you're growing as an asset, right? This business should have value without you. It's a thing that does things on its own, an entity. There's also a thing called a lifestyle business. And a good friend of mine, who I was his mentor, and then later he became my mentor. I know I got slow. And he has a lifestyle business. Like, I'm like, you got to hire employees, you got to write processes, you should do this. But the fact is, he's clearing $200K US every year. He works 30 hours a week, and he's been doing it for 8 years. He has saved so much money in investments and in real estate, he doesn't need a business as an asset. And his business probably has some value, not a lot. And it worked out well. So if you are really good at what you do, and you can charge a lot for it, and you can find ways to scale your time without employees, there is absolutely a way to make that lucrative. There's more than one way to skin the catfish. Yes, I recently learned that's what that saying meant. It wasn't a cat. Thank goodness for Jimmy. Lonnie's has a cat named Jimmy. Does that answer your question, Peter? Yeah, so you can go that route. Now, if you're finding yourself burning out, don't have enough money, don't know how to pay the bills, there's a different problem. Solved all sorts of ways, anywhere from charging more, saying no to more things, or saying to scale. We are running out of time. I will say, you mentioned people have 3 or 4 people and they have really thin margins, like how do I hire somebody else? Classic sign you're not charging enough.
Right.
If you don't have the margins to hire when you need to hire, you're not charging enough. Or maybe your expenses are high, but typically you're not charging enough. All right. That was great. Thank you all so much for participating. Thanks, Bruce, for participating online. Thanks, live studio audience. So we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll do our wrap-up. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. See you in a minute. Thank you all for being the best part of tonight's episode of the Entrepreneur's Hideout. We've had amazing insights, powerful collaboration, a little bit of fun, a lot of fun, and some great insights. Thank you for those stories, Sarah. Thank you, audience, for those stories. A big thank you to Sarah Stork from MSP Hire. We can even applaud for ourselves, the incredible live audience. And everyone watching from home, we're going to clap for you too. I hope you're clapping at home. That'd make my day.
They are.
Don't forget to join us every Thursday night for karaoke from 7 p.m. to late. Our fabulous host, Ryan, is backstage going, what the heck is wrong with my microphones, as we're stealing them right now. We'll get that running in about 5 or 10 minutes. And we'll see you live the 4th Thursday of every month for this show. It's the 4th Thursday every month, 5 to 7 p.m. We're live by 5:30. So until then, stay curious, stay collaborative, and let's make it epic. Good night, everyone.